Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets warm welcome in Rome by Indian diaspora to hold bilateral talks with Italian counterpart Giorgia Meloni. US and Iran trade threats. Trump says renewed military strike on Iran could occur soon if talks to end conflict fail. Tehran warns return to war will feature many more surprises. And in sports, Arsenal wins Premier League for the first time in 22 years after Manchester City draw at Bournemouth. In the final leg of his Five Nations visit, Prime Minister Modi arrived in Italy on Tuesday. During his two-day visit, PM Modi will call on Italian President Sergio Mattarella and hold talks with his Italian counterpart Giorgia Meloni. The visit takes place in the backdrop of a strong momentum in bilateral ties, with both sides proactively implementing the Joint Strategic Action Plan 2025 to 2029, a comprehensive roadmap for cooperation in various sectors, including in bilateral trade. The Prime Minister had last visited Italy in June 2024 for the G7 summit. Prime Minister Modi received an incredibly enthusiastic and grand reception from the Indian diaspora as he arrived at his hotel after his arrival in Italy. Large, vibrant crowds gathered, waving the Indian tricolour and performing traditional dances. The traditional dance forms presented on the occasion included Kuchipudi, Bharatanatyam and Kathak. Bharatanatyam is an Indian classical dance that originated in the Hindu temples of Tamil Nadu in southern India, while Kuchipudi is one of the 8 major Indian classical dance forms. It originated in Kuchipudi, a village in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. Kathak is one of the 8 major classical dance forms of India, originating from Uttar Pradesh. Besides, artists also played traditional music to welcome Prime Minister Modi in Rome. The music instruments played on the occasion included bansuri or flute, sitar and tabla. Deeply rooted in Indian classical music and mythology, bansuri is famously associated with the Hindu deity Lord Krishna, while sitar is one of the most popular instruments in Hindustani classical music and has gained global popularity over the years. The tabla is the most commonly played drum set in North Indian music. On the occasion of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Italy, the Italian painter Giampaolo Tomasetti has made a special painting of Varanasi Ghats capturing the cultural and spiritual essence of India's ancient and eternal city. The special painting of Varanasi Ghats was unveiled in Rome upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival. The painting is an artistic interpretation of one of the most iconic views of the ancient and eternal city of Varanasi and its riverfront along the Ganges. It captures the city's vibrant spirit and depicts the sublime sacred space where ritual, daily life and spirituality converge along the Ghats. The Italian painter worked in Florence, Italy from 1981 as an illustrator for books on ancient Vedic culture. In 1997, he won Italy's national contest for the historic painting with a huge canvas, 3 to 9 meters. From 2008 to 2013, he produced 23 large paintings depicting stories and scenes from the Indian epic Mahabharata. Many are displayed in the ISKCON headquarters in Villa Vrindavan in Florence, Italy. In a post on social media, Prime Minister Modi said his visit will focus on how to strengthen cooperation between India and Italy, with particular attention to the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor. He further wrote, the Joint Strategic Action Plan 2025-2029 will also be reviewed. The Prime Minister also said he will visit the headquarters of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, reinforcing India's commitment to multilateralism and global food security. All right, let's go across to Rome now. DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us from there. Akshay, visuals show Prime Minister Modi receiving a grand welcome in Italy. Tell us more about how he was received on arrival.
Rousing welcome here as he arrived in Rome, Italy, on the last leg of his five-nation visit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Rome and was welcomed by the Foreign Minister of Italy. After that, he was hosted a state dinner by the Prime Minister of the country, Giorgia Meloni, after which both the leaders went to see the Colosseum, the Grand Colosseum that is here in Rome, one of the most historically significant monuments around the world. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived at the hotel, he was given a rousing welcome by a very, very excited Indian diaspora. There were cultural performances by Italian dancers that performed in Kathak, Kuchipudi, and Bharatanatyam as well. There were Italian musicians that played sitar, bansuri, santoor, as well as tabla. So that was a sort of a show of the cultural connect between the two countries. And one more surprise that was here for the Prime Minister was a very beautiful painting by an Italian artist who had painted the Ghats of Varanasi in a show of sort of cultural similarities, cultural connection that is there between the two civilizations. So it was a very, very rousing welcome here. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi was received very warmly as he arrived in the country.
Also, Akshay, tell us what are the engagements lined up for the second day of Prime Minister's first ever bilateral state visit to Italy?
Well, Prime Minister's engagement are also going to be quite exciting as well as quite important and significant as far as the relation between the two countries are concerned. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be given a guard of honor by the President of the country. He will be meeting with the President where the two leaders will be holding all sort of discussions. Afterwards, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will have a delegation level talks with his counterpart. And then there will be other significant engagements between the leaderships of both India and Italy as well. The two countries are actually looking together at strengthening the ties as well as strengthening the relations between the two countries, elevating their relationship to newer levels. Both Italy and India have already increased or rather strengthened their relationship to a strategic partnership in 2023. And this visit, the first bilateral visit by the Prime Minister, is only going to take the momentum forward.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for inputs. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Italy has generated great expectations among the Indian business community living here. They believe that trade and business relations between the two countries are currently at a significant high. On what expectations the business community in Italy has from Prime Minister Modi's visit, DD India's Akshay Dongre spoke to businessman Ashok Guleria in Rome.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to make a historic visit to Rome. This is going to be his first bilateral visit. And about this visit, the Indian diaspora especially is very excited as the two countries are now slated to deepen their relationship to next level. And especially one of the pillars of this people to people connect is the business community, the Indian diaspora that lives here, especially the business community. And one of them is here with us, Mr. Ashok Guleria, who is a proud owner of a franchisee of Sarvana Bhavan here in Rome, also has many other businesses. Sir, so what were the problems that the business community has faced always, and how has it helped the business community, the deepening of relationship and the betterment of relationship? How has it helped the business community, and especially if you talk about your personal example?
Sir, before we facing a lot of problem in importing stuff from India, just like rice and other grains, and in many different materials we are importing from India. So we facing challenges with the customs. No one is hearing here. But after the last 10 years, also a business wing in embassy, they hear and they give us help. They give us solutions for these. They approaching to the Italian officials, and they helping.
Personally helping as well in a great, that must be helping you. And sir, how excited personally are you that the Prime Minister?
Sir, it's a very proud moment for us. Our Prime Minister is visiting this country. This is also a very big contribution. This country is also a very big contribution in our life, because my kids are born here and they are national level shooter here. My daughter is also play for the Italian team. Okay. So
Italy has given you a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, Italy is very important for us, but India is our country, sir. So it's a very proud moment, excited and very proud moment for us. The PM is coming here.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
That was Mr. Guleria, a business leader here in Italy from the Indian diaspora, and you can hear it in the voice that people are excited. People are happy that the Prime Minister is coming. They feel like one of their own friend or their own relative is coming to meet them, to hear their problems and solve them as well here as they live several thousand miles away from the country. But Prime Minister visit is being seen as a great celebration for the Indian diaspora in the country. With camera person Sumit Dhiman, I'm Akshay Dungre, TD India.
Moving on, embarking on a crucial diplomatic mission, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh arrived in South Korea on Tuesday on the second leg of a two-nation tour after visiting Vietnam. Upon his arrival, the Defence Minister was received by the Ambassador of India to the Republic of Korea, Guranglal Das. The multi-nation trip is aimed at bolstering regional security ties and advancing security dynamics. During his stay in the South Korean capital, the Defence Minister will hold bilateral talks with Defence Minister to exchange views on regional stability and shared security challenges. India and South Korea will co-inaugurate a dedicated Indian War Memorial. The memorial stands as a tribute to the legacy of Indian Army personnel who served valiantly during the Korean War. And on the sidelines of the 79th World Health Assembly in Geneva, India's Health Minister J.P. Nadda held productive bilateral meetings with counterparts and representatives from Thailand, Iran, the Netherlands, Sweden and Mauritius. The discussions focused on strengthening collaboration in digital health, pharmaceuticals, resilient public health systems and advancing universal health coverage. In a social media post, Health Minister said India remains committed to deepening global health partnerships to ensure accessible, affordable and equitable health care for all. And under India's BRICS chairship for 2026, India is organizing two-day BRICS Youth Entrepreneurship Working Group meeting beginning Wednesday in Indore. The meeting is being convened under the broader theme of building for resilience, innovation, cooperation and sustainability, and will bring together young entrepreneurs and representatives from BRICS member nations. It reflects India's continued emphasis on youth as key drivers of innovation, enterprise and sustainable development. The event will feature a mix of structured discussions, interactive sessions and collaborative exchanges designed to encourage dialogue on strengthening youth-led entrepreneurship ecosystems across BRICS countries. All right, time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Ebola death toll rises to 136 in DR Congo. Updates after the break. And in sports, Carlos Alcaraz to miss Wimbledon 2026.
This week on Defense Dynamics, from Ray Strike 9, marking India's entry into laser-based, cost-effective drone defense in an era of swarm warfare, to Tejas Mark 1 Alpha at a critical juncture as engine delays test India's indigenous fighter ambitions, and Alpha S shaping the future of air combat with AI-driven swarm drone tactics under the CATS program. As warfare evolves, India's focus is shifting towards autonomy, sustainability and next-generation combat systems. Catch the full analysis this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. President Donald Trump warned on Tuesday that the United States may strike Iran again, a day after he said he had held off a major assault in hopes of a peace deal. Trump told reporters at the White House that he had been just an hour away from relaunching Washington's attacks on Iran before postponing the order. Trump offered a deadline of several days for resuming strikes if a deal was not agreed.
I was an hour away. We were all set to go. You're talking about yesterday.
Yes.
We were going to be striking it would have been happening right now. Yeah, it was all done. The boats, the ships are all loaded. They're loaded to the brim. And we were all set to start. I had made the decision. So they called up. They had heard I made the decision. They said, sir, could you give us a couple of more days? Because we think they're being reasonable. Well, I mean, I'm saying 2 or 3 days, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something, maybe early next week, a limited period of time.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance voiced hope for a diplomatic solution Iran and said that talks are making good progress. Vance said that Washington was locked and loaded to restart military operations if there is no deal.
We are not going to have a deal that allows the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon. So as the president just told me, we're locked and loaded. We don't want to go down that pathway, but the president is willing and able to go down that pathway if we have to.
Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has announced an urgent upcoming diplomatic mission to Moscow to coordinate positions with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Iran's army spokesman Mohammad Akhramini warned that Iran would open new fronts against the United States if it resumed its attacks. He added that Iran's military had used the ceasefire as an opportunity to strengthen its combat capabilities. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Qasem Gharibabadi wrote on X that Trump's comments meant the US leader was calling a threat a chance for peace. The US Senate advanced a war powers resolution on Tuesday that would end the Iran war unless President Donald Trump obtains Congress authorization. The vote on a procedural measure to advance the resolution was 50 to 47 as 4 of Trump's fellow Republicans voted, with every Democrat but one in favor. 3 Republicans missed the vote. The result was a victory for lawmakers who have been arguing that Congress, not the president, should have the power to send troops to war. However, it was only a procedural vote and the resolution faces steep hurdles before going into effect. Even if it eventually passes 100-member Senate, the resolution must also pass the Republican-led House of Representatives and garner 2/3 majorities in both the House and Senate to survive an expected Trump veto. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio held talks with United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. According to the U.S. State Department, the discussion was focused on U.S. efforts to prevent Iran from placing mines and imposing tolls in the waterway, including a proposed UN Security Council resolution on the issue. Now, global stock index fell with 30-year U.S. Treasury yields rising to their highest level since 2007 on Tuesday, and oil prices eased. Oil prices settled lower on the day, with Brent futures down 82 cents at $111.28 a barrel, and the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude contract for June delivery, which expired on Tuesday, down 89 cents at $107.77. The 30-year Treasury bonds yield hits its highest in 19 years. It was last at around 5.18%. US 10-year yields rose to their highest levels in more than a year. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 322.24 points. The S&P 500 fell 49.44 points, and the Nasdaq Composite fell 220.02 points to 25,870.71. European stocks were higher, however, further recovering ground lost on Friday when they dropped 1.5% as bond market jitters spread to equities. The dollar index, including the yen and the euro, rose 0.34% to 99.33, with the euro down 0.45%. Against the Japanese yen, the dollar strengthened 0.14% to 159.05. And Nepal's Minister for Physical Infrastructure Development, Sunil Lamsal, has shared that genuine squatters will be distributed land ownership certificates by the Hindu festival of the Shan this year. During interaction with the public in Rupandehi, he said the government is working in a planned manner to permanently resolve the issue of squatters, and this was prioritized from the very first cabinet meeting after the formation of the government. All right, updates on Ebola outbreak now. The death toll rose sharply in Central Africa on Tuesday, with the head of the World Health Organization expressing concern over the scale and speed of the epidemic. Democratic Republic of Congo's Health Minister Roger Kamba said on Tuesday that at least 136 deaths in eastern DRC are probably linked to the latest Ebola outbreak. Congolese health authorities have reported 543 suspected cases and 32 confirmed infections, while neighboring Uganda has confirmed 2 cases.
We have about 32 positive cases from the samples we received. Now, regarding the number of deaths, I would first like to remind you that all the deaths I am going to announce to you are deaths suspected to be linked to the virus. We are today at 136 probable deaths linked to the disease.
Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director General Jean Kasaya said 3 vaccines are currently under development, though no approved vaccine exists yet for this strain. The World Health Organization declared the outbreak of the rare Bundibugyo strain a global health emergency on Saturday, citing concerns over its spread through densely populated and conflicted areas of eastern Congo. Meanwhile, medical supplies arrived in the eastern Congolese city of Bunia on Tuesday as authorities and aid agencies stepped up efforts to contain the Ebola outbreak. Health officials have tightened screening and border controls, while experts warn that conflict and weak surveillance in eastern Congo could complicate containment efforts. Ebola spreads through direct contact with bodily fluids and has an average fatality rate of about 50%, according to the WHO. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with football. English football club Arsenal are new Premier League champions. The title race is officially over after Manchester City were held to a 1-1 draw by Bournemouth. With just 1 game remaining, Arsenal now have an unassailable 4-point lead at the top of the table. Earlier, Gunners took a huge step towards the title with a 1-0 victory over Burnley at the Emirates Stadium. Kai Havertz scored the only goal of the match to seal a crucial win for Mikel Arteta's side. It marks Arsenal's first Premier League title since famous 2003-04 season under Arsene Wenger, when the club went unbeaten throughout the league campaign to become the Invincibles. That historic team won 26 matches and drew 12 on the way to lifting the trophy, and the season could get even better for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta and his players are still chasing a historic double with the UEFA Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain coming up on May 30th. And world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz revealed that he will miss the upcoming Wimbledon starting in June as he recovers from a wrist injury. The 23-year-old has already withdrawn from the French Open starting Sunday, where he is the defending champion. Alcaraz sustained the injury during the first round of the Barcelona Open last month, where he beat Otto Virtanen but subsequently pulled out of the tournament. Alcaraz became the youngest man to complete the career Grand Slam in January with his triumph at the Australian Open. He holds a 22-3 record this season and also won a title in Doha. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. You stay tuned for more news and updates.